of the world. If you study all the false doctrines in the world, probably you will not memorize it. They say if you're trying to study how to detect a counterfeit currency, the way not to study it is to study all the counterfeits. That's not the way to study it. To detect a counterfeit, what you need to study is the real deal. If you know the real currency, how it looks, how it feels, what are the security markers, what is the consistency, what is the size, the thing. If you know the real deal, then it's easy to spot the counterfeit. You will not fall into the trap of being sucked into a counterfeit. I remember one of my first time going to Green Hills. My wife took me early in our marriage. I was so happy. Ang daming DVD. Huh? Sabi ko, ang daming DVD dito, hard to find pa. Then I asked, the price is dirt cheap. I think 30 bucks, 50 bucks, whatever. It's so cheap. I bought, almost 2,000 peso worth. Ang dami! So, ang galing! And I know for a fact that it was illegal. I was a Christian and I know it's illegal. I told my wife, don't worry. I'll email them. I will email worry about it. I bought an illegal CD and I'm willing to pay. The problem here in the Philippines, we can't get these CDs. It's only available by pirated. So, I'll pay you. Sabi ko, don't worry. But my wife said, no, destroy it. Destroy it. So, among the ton that I bought, I just watched one. It's about tennis. Tennis, remember that. All others was destroyed. And I remember when I was young, I went to PICC. Dati pag Pasko, uso yung mga fair, di ba? Mga rides, and people were selling shirts and blah, blah. I bought a shirt. Man, it's dirt cheap. It's 30 pesos. With jacket. 30 pesos with jacket. This is so cheap. So I bought it. I realized whenever I wash it, it shrinks. So after three wash, hindi na kasha. Sabi ko, oh man, this is expensive. It's 30 pesos at 10 pesos per suot. So I should have bought a 200 shirt pala. But the thing is, you know, in 2008, you heard about this milk, right? A fake milk. Kids that would they put melanin in the milk, yeah, right? And like 500,000 Chinese kids got infected. Or in India, this is prevalent. There's this guy that was sick, and when he was sick, sabi niya, meron tong malaria. Prescribe him the medicine. Normally that medicine, I forget the name, is very effective. It could cure malaria after a few days. After 1 week, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. To find out the medicine was fake. You know, fake belief is deadly. Fake gospel is deadlier. Because it condemns the soul for all eternity. That's why Paul says, beware of them. They're evil men. These people, you know, when I check the medicine, the study, it's like 25% lang yung totoong gamot, 75% yung fake. That also happens in dextrose. Sometimes yung laman, talagang tubig lang talaga galing ribo. May namamatay. Is that prevalent? It is, right? It's in India, right? I read it in India. India and China. And yet, fake medicine is deadly. Fake gospel is deadlier. And the thing is, it's hard to detect if you don't know the gospel. if you don't know the real deal, it's easy to be sucked in. That's why go to 2 Corinthians, please. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Second Corinthians chapter 10 verse 5 says, we are destroying speculation and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God. And we are taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. You are to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. It starts in the mind. What controls your mind controls you. Question is, what do you feed your mind? Where do you soak your mind in? Is it TV? Is it internet? Is it video games? Nothing wrong with that per se. But guess what? If you spend more time in the things of the world, wouldn't that affect your mind and therefore affect you? What controls your mind will control you. Guard your mind. Guard your eyes. Guard your ears. What you see and what you hear. Just guard those two things and you'll be kind of okay. But let that loose. Your value system will be the same as the world. Your morality will be the same. Why? You see the same thing. You watch the same thing. You are fed the same thing. And then you expect to act differently? That's illogical. And if we don't guard our eyes and our ears, we will fall into that trap. In our passage today, the church in Colossae, Philippians, it's Colossians. It's the book that we're reading. the book of Philippians, you have to realize that the church in Philippi is under pressure already. We know, right? They're poor. They used to be rich, now they're poor. Now, try to imagine this. Another group of believers, Judaizers, dogs, evil people, come into you. Now, your context, the context of our church is this. We are already being persecuted. We are now, because they're Christians, they're already suffering. There are certain things that they cannot do in Philippi. Why? Because they're Christians. They cannot participate already in certain festivities. So they're being persecuted already, per se, for being Christians. Now, here comes another group, the Judaism, who is telling them, you have to be circumcised if you want to consummate your Christianity. You have to do something. Now, the thing with Judaism, it's attractive. If you're a Christian, it's an attractive alternative. Why? Because Judaism is a legitimate religion of the Roman Empire. And as a legitimate religion, they have tax exemptions. Now, they can go also to the temple and worship because it is a legitimate religion. And they are allowed now to make sacrifice. They are now exempted to make sacrifices to the emperor. Right? Because that's what the emperor wants to do, to make sacrifices towards him. But if you're part of the religious, the legal, legitimate religion that Rome recognized, you're exempted to that. while Christianity was not part of the religious ano. So it's so easy, right? It's so easy for them to, sige na nga, I'll join your group so that I can at least lessen the pressure. So, you know, these people, when they come to you, they may benefit. You know, the book of Hebrews is all about that. The book of the concept of the book of Hebrews, diba, is the supremacy of Christ. What was happening at that time was for people to enter into the temple, they have one, to be circumcised, and secondly, they have to deny Christ if they are to go back to Judaism. And people were denying Christ. And the writer of Hebrews, it says, why? He is supreme over all. Why are you doing that? So they had all these reasons to just simply join. Sige na, makisama na tayo. Hirap, dami natin kaaway. Kaaway natin gobyerno, kaaway pa natin mga kapwa Kristiyanong mga Hudyo. Let's join in. In the book of Galatians, right? And Acts, the apostles were pressured. They're pressured to compromise. There's a real pressure. Because some of the Jews or some of the Gentiles that refuse to be circumcised, some of them are killed. Wow. As we know, right? Part of the people that helped instigate the putting to death of Paul are fellow believers who wants to put you in bondage. Now the question for us is this: what are the things that are pressuring you to compromise now in your life? What are these things? Could it be a love relationship? Could be work? Could be income? It could be friendship? Pakikisama? What are the pressures of this world that is telling you compromise? It's worth it. No one will know. You can mute your conscience. Those are lies. Lies straight from hell that we should not believe. And Paul says, as we look at verse 3, for we are the true circumcision. That's a radical statement. Because most of the people in Philippi are Gentiles, uncircumcised. And Paul was a Jew and saying, no, we. Not only me. We are the true circumcision. And we learned last week, these are people who's been circumcised in the heart. Because God looks at the heart. Not the outside appearance, but the inner heart. One that is submissive towards Him. Go to Acts chapter 10, please. Acts chapter 10 verse 44 says, while Peter was still speaking these words, the Holy Spirit fell upon all those who were listening to the message. All the circumcised believers who came with Peter were amazed because the gift of the Holy Spirit has been poured out on the Gentiles also. Jump to chapter 15, please. Acts chapter 15 verse 7 says, after there had been much debate, Peter stood